Hey, what's going on, everyone? Dan the Glassman here. Welcome to the Glassman's world. Once again, another glass blowing session. Just going to be working on some water drops here. So we still got to complete our order. 100 drops, plus we need a bunch of drops for all kinds of other different things, different events, and so different orders. So I really need to just get on the ball, get these done, get them made, and continue making more. Also be working on some amber drops. So last time we worked on these two here. Let me see if I can hold them both side by side. There. So there's the lighter amber, of course, and then the dark amber. So you can see the difference there. And that light amber, like, it really does look like honey, right? That's just beautiful. So we may just end up doing that. It takes a little bit longer to have to, wrap the clear in the color, but then it makes it look so much better. So we may just end up doing that. Also, very soon we'll be working on a lot of the drop of water 2.0s. And we'll be making them a lot bigger. So you can see this one here, the size compared to that one. And we'll be making them about this size or bigger for 100 of those. So I'll be making a lot of those very soon as well. All right. So let me move this glass back there so it doesn't allow things to roll. Alright, so we're going to get started here, guys. I'm going to get the computer set up here so I can read your guys' comments. Hopefully we have some guests coming in here. This computer is always slow. Remember, always start your day with water. Remember, water is life. Every drop counts. As you can see, I'm drinking out of a beautiful copper mug here. There's this water. One thing that you can do always before drinking your water is always, put good intentions, good love, good vibrations, good energy into your water. Always be grateful for your water. Always thank your water. And you can also put a vibration of home into your water. The A, the U, the M. When you put that into your water, putting that into your body as well, because you're drinking that all in. That good love, that good vibration. Alright, so let me show you this piece here that we worked on last time. So this is that honeycomb pattern. And that came out really, really cool. The only thing is next time what I'll be doing is I'll be putting the dots on first, and then fuming, and then adding all the dots around that. So that way you can see, you can get all the dots here from the fume work, but then that should be super, super bright, and the fume, it kind of covered it up, but it's still beautiful, and it looks really awesome. And someone's going to love that. Someone's definitely going to love that. You can see the size of it compared to this one. It's a little bit bigger. And this is my microphone, but compared to that. But yeah, you can see it's a good size, really good size there. Alright, so we're going to set this aside as well. And let's get started here. Let's get to the channel so I can get to your guys' comments, just in case we have anyone watching. Sorry, excuse me. So I've been a little bit congested recently in the last I'd say in the last week or so, there's been something going around and kind of hit me, and so I've just been healing myself, mending myself, getting better slowly, a little bit at a time, and drinking a lot of tea, a lot of Tulsi and ginger with lemongrass. Got some of that tea from the ashram in Chino Hills, California, and it's an amazing tea, and we've had it for a while now, and it's still, we got bags and bags of it, and I've actually been putting them into jars so we can keep it a lot better. All right, give me a moment here. Get the glasses on. Let's get started here. So we're just going to work on more drops all day, and we're going to talk a little bit about water. Because why? Because water is life. Every drop counts. Right? Water is life. Every drop counts. And we want to make sure that we're always staying in that conscious vibration, always remembering about water, when you're running your water, always think, do I need this water running right now? Let me shut it off real quick, while I'm brushing my teeth, or if I'm doing dishes, or, different things like that. There's so many different little things that we can do, Can you have less water in your bath next time, things like that? Can you take a quicker shower or shorter shower? Things like that. Those are all those things that we can all think about and be conscious about with our water. Because water is life, and every drop counts. Every drop. Alright. So we're going to get started here. Use the Norwex OptiCloth. Let me also get a better angle going for you guys here. Sorry about that. We'll just tilt this down just slightly. That way you guys can see what's going on the table, as well as the torch and everything. You don't really got to see my ugly mug, as long as we're watching the glass. That's all that's important here. Alright, let me get everything all lined up and situated. Alright, so 100 drops. So these are going to be going to my friend Michael Coles in Canada. Thank you, Michael, so much for continuing this mission here, this movement, this water is life movement through the drop of water. That way we can continue to talk about the importance of water and can continue on with this message of clean drinking water for all. Gifting out the drop of water started during Standing Rock, but before that, I was actually telling my daughter the other day how we were going through some of my how Facebook has their memories, right? So some of my memories came up, and one of them was something I had shared. It was a link I shared, and it was talking about the water being polluted in New Mexico. And she was like, what? When did that happen? And I was like, oh, that happened like years ago. Like, I think that was around I'd say about 2012, 2013 or 14, somewhere around there. 2012, 2014 is my guess. And there was a company here who was mining uranium and they had a uranium mine spill, which went into the Animas River, which goes through New Mexico, right by the Four Corners, up there near like Durango, Pagosa area. And it flows all the way through, like Colorado and New Mexico, a little bit of maybe Utah, but I think it goes through New Mexico and then into Arizona and then into the Navajo Nation, or the Dene, where all the Dene people are. And so I was watching that very closely, and how I knew they weren't going to be able to clean up any of that water, and all that water was going to continue to just go downstream. It's still going downstream, at this point. For years and years and years, many years later, right? And, I don't know how do you clean up uranium from the water, from the soil, from all the land there? It's got to be still in there. It's still flowing through that part of the land here in New Mexico, the Animas River, all the way through to the Navajo Nation. And then after that, then there was Flint, Michigan, and people speaking on Flint, Michigan, and how the waters in Flint were completely desecrated, and no one could shower, no one could, they weren't drinking the water. Everyone was scared to drink it. They weren't able to bathe in it or shower in it, and it was a very bad situation. And so then we started following what was going on in Flint, Michigan, and then Standing Rock occurred. And when Standing Rock occurred, it seemed like at that point, finally, people started to wake up to what was going on, Like they were waking up to what had happened with the Animas River and what had happened with Flint, Michigan. And they didn't want that to happen to Standing Rock in North Dakota with the Oglala Sioux tribe. And so they didn't want the waters to be desecrated. They didn't want the sacred burial land to be desecrated. And so, the children, the youth, they all formulated a walk. The natives, the indigenous people, our brothers and sisters, they go on these walks, these prayer walks. And it's a sacrifice, it's a walk, a long walk, it's a prayer. And they go on these journeys, and so they walked all the way from North Dakota, all the way to Washington, D.C. These children in a prayer walk, stopping through and letting people know why they were on this walk, A lot of people do it, the Dalai Lama goes around the world and he does his world peace walk, there's a lot of individuals who do these prayer walks, The Buddhist monks, they go around every year, blessing many, many different places around the world. And so these children from North Dakota all came together to walk and to go and talk to, at the time, I do believe it was President Obama. And that was before Trump was coming in. And Obama, everyone was all for Obama, and Obama did nothing for the water and for the people in North Dakota. And then Trump came in. And everyone, a lot of the natives were all against Trump. And he definitely didn't do anything. He was all for the oil and the pipeline. So he wasn't going to stop them, you know. And so then many individuals went up there and stood in solidarity to stand for water and to stand up against this Dakota Access Pipeline. And a lot of people didn't know that. You know, it was all this media blackout. The media wasn't covering it. And the only way that people really got to know about what was going on was through the water protectors who were there. Individuals who had drone footage or camera footage, or they were streaming live on Facebook, on their Facebook live stream, streaming it on YouTube, wherever they could stream it, you know, before it was taken down. And a lot of individuals were able to get some amazing footage that showed what was really going on, and showing the tyranny that was happening there, how our own military, our own police were rising up against the U.S. people, the people who were just simply there to stand and protect water and to protect their sacred burial land. Imagine if someone came in and just decided, hey, we're going to put an oil pipeline right where your grandparents are buried, right in that. Don't worry about it. We're just going to go through the cemetery right here. Wouldn't you protest? Wouldn't you stand up against that? Everyone would. You know, no matter where you're from and what color skin or whatever, you know, everyone would stand up and fight against an oil pipeline getting dug through your cemetery, your sacred burial land. You know, no one wants that, except for those who are in it for the money. And why did they do that? Why did they have to move the pipeline from where it was pre-existing and make sure that it went through the water and went through those lands? Why did they create this? Why did they create a situation? They antagonized the situation and created it. You know, they created a narrative there. Something happened there that we're still going to figure out eventually. Somewhere there. It's interesting because there's a lot of people who are fighting there and put their heart, their love, their soul, everything into it. They put their lives on the line for the people, for the land, for the water. And there's something sinister that's been going on where after all that happened, the powers that be have been able to basically like just destroy the entire group. That whole entire unification that occurred there, they completely destroyed that. And they had individual little groups within then fighting each other and creating these little battles against one another, which didn't need to occur, never needed to happen. And everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of individuals, you know, they went for it. And they gave into it, and they started fighting each other instead of staying united in that solidarity, which everyone was there together. They all came together for one thing, which was to protect the water, protect the land, protect the people. And somewhere all that got lost. Somewhere people got distracted by the true cause and the true spirit of what it was really meant to be. And that all it was, you know, for me, all it was watching what was going on with the Nemus River, watching what was going on in Flint, Michigan. The many different things that I learned about, you know, with Nestle, being able to pump out millions of gallons of water from California, even though California has been claiming to be in a drought for so many years. And Nestle goes in and pays $800 for a permit to pull out millions of gallons of water, to extract millions of gallons of water. Why would they be allowed to do so? I mean, whose pockets are getting fat here? That's what's really going on, you know? And I believe Nestle and Kraft, they're all connected. And there's a place, you know, people watch The Simpsons a lot, right? And The Simpsons seem to predict almost anything and everything that's been going on in this world, you know. Our future, somehow The Simpsons know what's going on. They call it predictive programming or whatever. You know, I just call it, you know, truth hidden in fiction. You know, that they're always revealing what they're going to do. They're going to always reveal their plans, whether it's 50 years from now or 10 years from now or whatever. They're always revealing their plans. They have to. They have to let you know, in a public level. They have to be able to, put it out there in print, in paper, for the masses to know. This is the plan. This is what's going to happen. If you want to contest it, then you can, because it's been publicly made aware. But most individuals, they find it as entertainment. They go along with it. They watch movies and don't realize that the truth is hidden in fiction and things like that. So, speaking of The Simpsons and everything that they've been finding, one thing that I just come to realize recently is this place, this craft center. I forget specifically where it's located, but there's this place, Craft Foods, Craft Center, and a place called Springfield, like The Simpsons. Springfield, 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 Springfield. You guys know. You know what I'm talking about. So there's this place called Springfield Underground. And recently, it's pretty interesting because they've actually been allowing it to be filmed by truck drivers, semis, when they drive into these like caves, I guess, underground tunneling systems that go miles and miles deep, like tens of miles deep. I mean, we're talking semi-trucks being able to drive with I think like 3-lane highways in there, something ridiculous. And enough clearance of, I don't know, maybe not that many, at least 4. It's an interesting place. So they've been recently allowing videos to come out on YouTube, which is interesting, because YouTube censors a lot of stuff. I had my first warning the other day, which was quite interesting. I can't even say what it was about, probably, or might get dinged again. So our whole First Amendment pretty much out the door these days. We don't have freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly. You're not allowed to go out and assemble anymore to protest, without having the government, the military, police, law enforcement coming to fight you, to attack you. It's like, wait, whoa. This is our First Amendment right. You are sworn in to protect this Constitution, but instead you're over here protecting corporations' freedoms over the people. And that's what's really been going on. So yeah, look into the whole Simpsons thing, and living under a dome. Maybe it's not necessarily a dome, in the movie, but maybe it's living, under a mountain is kind of like dome shaped, right? Maybe living underneath, huh? Putting Springfield completely on the ground. They never show you where it is on the map. They always point to it. These are the four corners, These are the four states that connect. And there's that episode where it tells you these are the states that connect, which means that underground expands through all those states, and those are the different entrances that you can get into it. The Simpsons always hide truth, guys. Truth and fiction. It's pretty interesting. I don't know. I like the Simpsons. They're fun. It's fun to watch. Good entertainment. Good for the people. Keep them distracted. And then they can, once you're all full of monotony and distraction, then they create these like really awesome events. I was watching that movie White Noise. I finally watched it. I put a video up the other day how I was trying to watch the movie White Noise, and I couldn't get through it. It's like, man, this is a really hard movie to watch. They literally put white noise within the movie to make it extremely hard to like pay attention to and listen to what's going on. It's like, to me, it felt like it was nothing but static. It was really interesting. But I finally got through it this morning, and yeah, it's pretty interesting how this movie was based on a book written long ago. I think like in the 70s or the 80s, and the writer, what's his name, DeLeo, that he basically was writing based on what was going on in the 80s and how a lot of people were being distracted by the news and everything, and then they would find the sensationalism within things, like accidents and tragedies and different events. And it's really interesting to think how our world has been molded and shaped around that, where, we only come together. Unification only happens through tragedy. And that movie really points out that fact, how, they only get unified through tragedy, and it's a really interesting psychological movie. It's very deep, and I would recommend watching it with the subtitles on, so you can read along, because then it also has like all of the narrative, all the lines, all the dialogue that you can't really like pay attention to because everything's like on top of one another. But when they type it out for those who can't hear closed captioning, you put the subtitles on there, then it really does help. So that's how I was able to watch it and get through it, and yeah, that was really cool. I was able to get through it and watch it, and then it made a lot more sense. Also understanding the book and the book plot, and knowing that that's where the movie came from, that made a lot of sense. And then understanding how they talk about a lot of these things, and it's a lot of, it is similarity of what's going on right now, and maybe the powers that be are knowing that what's already been put into our heads psychologically ever since the 80s, and from generation to generation, this has basically been embedded within us and within our DNA. That this sensationalism of events and things like that, it's what unifies us. And so now everyone's all huddled around watching the screen and seeing what's going on in East Palestine or Palestine. I don't know if it's East Palestine. Is that how they pronounce it? I don't want to offend any of the locals. I don't know if it's Palestine, Palestine. I think it's like East Palestine. And so, you know, these individuals, from day one, I've been saying they should have gotten out. And now you hear that former President Trump and Aaron Brockovich, they're going to be there on Wednesday. So that's in 3 days. Excuse me. So they're going to be visiting on Wednesday, which means either they're going to beat our current standing president, I guess you call him, and unless he beats them there and goes over there, you know, like tomorrow on a Monday. I don't think he'd go on a Sunday. You know, most people, although a Sunday would probably be a good day because, you know, everyone's home, not so many people are working. You could get it on the news, on the media, you know. Super Bowl's done. There's no football. So, yeah, you know, maybe he could rush over today and then he could say how, you know, it was already in his plans and Trump was just trying to get there before him or something like that, you know. They always have to turn it on. It was Brandon versus Trump. So yeah, understanding what's going on up there. That very first day, once they started saying how they were worried that, you know, these highly toxic chemicals were going to explode, it was going to ignite, and they were very concerned about that because of, you know, they didn't want them to burn off, all the fumes would burn off, but they were also concerned that if it did ignite, that it would create a huge explosion and shrapnel within like a mile radius. And so they evacuated the town and decided to just ignite it. You know, it was pretty funny. We were watching Russell Brand yesterday or the day before, and he was talking about it. You know, he was saying, talking about how pretty much it's like a bunch of teenagers. He's like, oh yeah, come on, mate, let's go and let's see what happens if we light it. We just get rid of it. You know, we made a little bit of a mess, and now let's go clean it up. Oh no! Oh, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Put it out. Put it out. It's getting worse. And it was just so funny how, you know, and I'm sorry if I butchered his accent and everything, but that's my Russell Brand. And so, you know, he made it seem so comical, like, you know, a bunch of kids accidentally made a mess and they're trying to like sweep it up or clean it up real quick, like, oh, let's just burn it, let's get rid of it real fast. And oh no, the smoke, it's so thick, it's getting worse. What do we do? Oh no, run away. And you know, that's what it kind of seems like happened. You know, North folk South, they didn't show up to the town meeting because they were concerned about their employees' safety. Because they're worried that the town is gonna like womp on them, right? Like what were you thinking? You know, you're like a bunch of teenagers trying to just sweep this up under the rug and clean it up like it's nothing. And where's all the other individuals who are so like, you know, where's all the Greta Thunbergs? You know, where's all the Al Gores and all all these individuals who claim so much to be environmentalists. Where are all these individuals? You know, where are all these water protectors? Where are all these people who, you know, does anyone not care what's going on in East Palestine? You know, what is happening? I guess we're all just so distracted. I'm over here in my own home. I'm distracted with work. I have to make these. I have to stay here for my family because my family needs me. So I guess we're all distracted in our own ways, right? Whether it's an important distraction or our own recreational distraction, whatever it is, we aren't able to give 100% of our focus to certain things, certain causes, certain events, things like that. So that's quite interesting to think. You know, I can't just rush over there. You know, what would my family do without me right now? I mean, I pretty much am here every day to basically help my wife throughout the day because of her disability and medical situations of her own that she's now having to face repercussions of chemicals hurting the body. You know, all these chemicals are so inundated with all these chemicals in our life, and you know, it really is like, well, what are these chemicals for? Why are they being shipped? You know, who needs them? Do we all need them? Is it all something that, you know, these chemicals being utilized for stuff that we need? You know, I heard that vinyl chloride was used in adhesives and some other things, and I'm trying to think, well, what kind of adhesives? Is it just Scotch tape adhesive? Is it super glue adhesive? Is it, you know, adhesives for roofing, tar, for, you know, what kind of adhesives? For stickers, for artwork, for art supplies? Am I using them? Is this part of it right here, this little label on the glass? You know, the adhesive? You know, what are we using that's part of this problem? So it's, you know, we have to really take our own personal accountability into consideration here, but also, of course, it was this large train company, the Norfolk South, and whatever company that was shipping through Norfolk South, you know, whoever needed the supply to get shipped, whoever purchased the order, whoever shipped the order, whoever was holding the inventory, you know, everyone should be held accountable. You know, there's so many questions as to what's going on over there. Why did it take so long for FEMA to finally show up? I think they're showing up today or sometime this week, and we'll see if when they show up, you know, it's been 2 weeks now. February 3rd, I believe, Friday, February 3rd was when this occurred, which was a week before my birthday on February 10th. That's why I can remember it. It's now February 19th, which some people say today was supposed to be an interesting day. Some people say that maybe there could be something like solar flares or a whole entire U.S. blackout or some kind of crazy event that might occur today. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, you know. I leave it all to God always. Hare Krishna. We just, you know, do our best every day. Always keeping that happiness and that love within, no matter what suffering we're going through. We all go through the 4 stages of suffering, as I always talk about. But, you know, there's some individuals, you know, there's the birth, disease, old age, death. Those are the 4 stages. That whole dis-ease part, dis-easement, or having this disease, you know, being diseased, getting a disease, you know. Now people are going to be having to suffer through all that, you know, having to deal with all this upper respiratory issues, the burning and throbbing eyes, irritated eyes, whatever's already seeped into the skin. As I heard that this is extremely absorbable. I forget what they call it, through the skin. There's a scientific word, chemistry word that they use. Basically, it just means that it's easily absorbed through the skin, which means it gets into your bloodstream. These are the forever chemicals that we, you know, Serena and I always warn everyone about. You know, it's the reason why we push Norwex. You know, it's the reason why we always push Norwex. We tell people, quit using bleach, you know, quit using all these chemicals. That way they don't have to be shipped anymore to anyone. You know, but we're going to have these worst U.S. disasters. The worst disasters in U.S. history, we're going to continue to have these over and over again. So there's a lot going on, though. I mean, it's not just in East Palestine. You know, there's a big old plastic, I guess, you know, the pot plants, you know. All the planters that we all, even me, I'm guilty of purchasing plant pots and purchasing pots and or purchasing plants that are in those black pots, you know, so we could grow in. And apparently there's a huge factory in Florida that caught fire with all this plastic, you know. And so we, you know, if we all didn't need that supply, then there wouldn't be any plastic to be burning. But we all need it. So, you know, what part of it is our fault? How much of it? What percentage compared to who's at fault? Like, of course, whoever lit the fire or caused the accident to then create that fire would be more at fault than someone who's just purchasing. But still, we all have some sort of guilt by association. You know, we all have our hands in that. Whether we want to point the finger or not, that's the truth in the matter. So that's why, you know, it's up to us as individuals to really try to pay attention and be very conscious-minded of what it is we're purchasing, what materials, what chemicals, what toxins. You know, as this is happening, what toxins are underneath your sink right now, currently? Do you have any bleach? Do you have any Windex? Do you have any Pine Sol? You know, you got some of that Mr. Clean. You know, some of that, what's that? I don't know what the scrubbing bubbles are for your bathroom. Do you use Ajax? You know, do you use any laundry soap with all that blue dye in it? Do you use fabric softener sheets? Do you use fabric softener? Do you use any of this stuff in your home every day? Right? How do you clean your floors? How do you clean your windows, your countertop? You know, what do you use? What do you clean with? Everyone who hasn't really converted over to a more healthier means of cleaning and being able to get away from that, you know, you're still contributing to all this mess, you know. And that's the thing, is we really need to take personal accountability for what's really going on right now. But a lot of people don't, and a lot of people won't. You know, it's always point the finger. You know, but even Bob Marley sang, you know, before you point your finger, before your hands are clean, judge not. Before you judge yourself, judge not. before I give you more judgment. Oh, yeah. See, Bob Marley, he already sung about all these things. His message was loud and clear to me, but many others just like the sound and the vibration, that feeling that they get, because he gives them that irie feeling, you know. So even if they're not paying attention to the lyrics, it still captures them in their hearts and in their minds and in their souls. You know, that music that Bob Marley put out there for the world. You know, there is no music like that these days. Except maybe his son, you know, Damian Marley. He's putting out some good stuff these days. And yes, I know there's a few other individuals out there with some very lyrically knowledgeable music and songs. So yeah, it's just real interesting to see what's going on in the world and all these events all happening at once. A lot of people don't realize, you know, that East Palestyne's going on, but we got, you know, like I was saying, that fire in Florida. I was just told the other day by a family member of ours who lives out there in Tucson, Arizona, that they had nitric acid spill on Interstate 10 right there in Tucson, South Tucson, right on, let me think if I can remember what the word was, or sorry, the road name. It was on the, something exit, the Bloom, I don't remember, but it was right there on I-10 in Tucson, southern Tucson. They had a nitric acid spill. And what I found interesting about that spill is, and I don't know, you know, I'm not a trucker. I don't do it. I'm a glass blower. But I'm, you know, because I blow glass, I have a lot of time on my hands, you know, when I'm just hanging out with the family. And, or just at, you know, in the mornings, I wake up so many hours before everyone else that I have time to really just like get into what's going on with current events and the news, world news, local news, everything. You know, I've been doing this for a really long time, paying attention to what's going on with news and current events. You know, when we were working on Hemp TV, we used to always watch what was going on so we can rebroadcast the news and the current events weekly on our live show. So keeping up to date with this has just been something I've been doing since, like, you know, 97 was probably the prime time all the way up to 2000 when I was doing all that. And that was when we were extremely professional. You know, we were doing that kind of like work. We weren't getting paid. We were hoping that maybe one day our show would get picked up and we'd get syndicated and, you know, get sponsorship and get paid and stuff, but, you know, that didn't happen. We got a lot of a lot of national viewership, and we made it on the national ratings, and people started to actually pay attention to what was going on with our show. So yeah, I've been researching a lot. It's something that I just viewed by, you know, second nature now. I'm just always paying attention. When I watch movies, you know, I work in film, so you know, I love how they make film. I love filmmaking, filmmakers. I love cinematography. I love just, you know, everything about it. The writing of the music, the score, all the special effects. You know, the fact that these people come in, they build a city in like a day. And then after they're done filming, they tear it all down in a day. And he's like, where did all that go? You know, it's so amazing what they can do. You know, and putting all this like imaginary Hollywood make-believe land together. Sometimes they're retelling the story of true events, yes. But usually it's a retold story. It's not like the actual footage or anything going on. You know, that's reality TV is something different and new. But it's just, all that stuff fascinates me. So I've been watching movies with a keen eye for a really long time. I always watch, to see what the continuity, how well did they do? Oh, that guy's tie was this way on the last shot, and now it's this way. Oh, her hair wasn't brushed over this way. Like little tiny things like that, I catch. Like, oh wait, wasn't there a poster in the background there? Now it's something else, or splice it all together just right, or else it'll be a horrible film, a horrible movie. So when I was watching that movie White Noise, it was really weird to watch. I found it strange. To me, once I started researching what was going on and what they were talking about and what white noise is and what it's capable of and what can actually be done with white noise, on a scientific level, biologically, mind altering or changing people's thoughts or being able to implant things or having other vibrations being able to come in. You can have vibrations and sound implanted within that white noise, like so many different things. And so knowing that that's what that's all about, and then the way they made the movie to where it's like really hard to watch and hard to get into. So much is going on and really hard to pay attention to all the dialogue on top of dialogue. But like I said, if you watch it with the subtitles on or the closed captioning on, and you can read along with it, then it really helps to hear like all that back dialogue and what's hidden behind everything else. And after watching it the second time, third time, I guess second time, because I watched it yesterday again, and then I finished watching it today. So I watched like half of it, and I watched the other half. So I watched it twice all the way through, but on 3 separate days. And being able to really get into the dialogue and hear what's going on, listening to the music and the lyrics, like that's really interesting. What's going to happen in Farmington town will be interesting. And are they talking about Farmington, New Mexico? Because that's a city, but there's a couple other places called Farmington town. So that'll be interesting to see in the future on what might occur in Farmington town. Just something I was paying attention to. It might be nothing at all. Don't listen to me. I'm just a glass blower. How's that? The reading rainbow, how's that go? Don't take. Like, I really love it. But don't take my word for it. You have to read it for yourself. Like, even the kids were taught that long ago. Remember that? On Reading Rainbow? Like, don't take my word for it. Go and research all this yourself. But, one thing that they're talking about is vinyl chloride. And now they're talking about all these other chemicals. There's like 4 different chemicals, right? On a train where apparently these chemical tankers on the trains, when they are carrying hazardous materials, toxic materials, such as all this stuff, they're only allowed to travel at 35 miles an hour. But because this train had one car that didn't have chemicals, it was allowed to travel at 50 miles an hour. Went through 20 miles of tracks, sparking and catching fire. Whereas, the detectors that would detect, the heat signatures and be able to detect if there was an issue, would have been able to detect that, long before those 20 miles, unless no one's paying attention, no one's working there. With everything that happened in the last few years and the people losing their jobs and, not being able to fulfill all the positions, everyone now scrambling, trying to do like 2 jobs at once, we saw what happened on Russ, she was the main armorer, was also the main, what was she, props master and main master armor and props master. That's a lot for one person, but yeah, we got to cut corners, right? And then accidents happen, tragedies unfold. And what's interesting is this whole movie White Noise talks about how the tragedy brings the crowd. And the crowds, what is our job? Our job is basically just to show up. And a lot of times we show up because of tragedy, because of fatality. We all huddle together in unity. Oh, what's happening? What's going on? But the whole book, White Noise, talks about how these tragedies, people are watching them as though it's just television. It's just another event that a filmmaker was able to create in a movie, and so the whole beginning of the movie, when it starts out, and I might have got dinged for copyright, but I made a video the other day on it, and it shows the dialogue and how the professor's talking about all the different filmmakers and the car crashes that they create, and how every film and every car crash, they're trying to outdo themselves and outdo each other and make each one better and more realistic and more heartfelt and more sensational, and be able to bring that crowd's attention, to draw the crowd in, making them want more. Very interesting. And how these tragic events all bring people together. Like I was talking about with Standing Rock. Standing Rock, very tragic. They're wanting to put an oil pipeline, Dakota Access Pipeline, through the water and through the sacred burial ground. That's very tragic. And many people all came together. All the crowds came together. And that movie, that book, it's White Noise. Now that I watched it a second time, and I really, really paid attention to it all by myself without anyone really around, it's quite interesting, the psychology of it. Very psychological. Very interesting how they made the movie too, where some of the lines, like it was so esoteric is what Serena was saying. But yet, from the way I saw it after knowing that it came from a book, I think they were just reading from the actual novel itself in the movie to create that descriptive narrative. It's just a trick in filmmaking. And so I was like, oh, okay, now I see what's going on. And the whole 2 stories going on at once, a lot of people do that with visualization, but having people talking over each other, making it really hard to pay attention, well, that's a whole different thing, That's really interesting how they did that. And like I said, having the closed captioning or having the subtitles of words so you can read along really helps with understanding what's going on. But one thing I want to point out is that, no matter what the movie, whether it's coincidence or whether, it's strange that they had just filmed right there in East Palestine is what I've what I'm understanding is they actually filmed there, or they filmed nearby, and some residents of the town of East Palestine or East Palestine were actually actors. They were extras in the film. I'm like, how weird is that? How coincidental is that? To actually be in the movie of this whole accident and the airborne toxic event is what they call it in the film, and how similar it is to what's going on now. But ever since day one, I told everyone, pay attention to the jet streams and where the wind blows. Because, yeah, this is happening right here, but they ignited all that. And now all of that's now getting carried over in the clouds, going to get dropped down by the rain. And in that same time, simultaneously as this is occurring, they were having these weather warnings happening down in the south, and tornado warnings and all this stuff, and severe storm warnings, winter storm warnings happening. And I'm like, okay, that's real interesting that that's happening while that's happening. And the winds were blowing it south and to the east. Usually the currents get pushed upward into the north in that region. But we had a cold front pushing everything down, which was creating that winter storm. So everything was getting pushed downward, south, southeast. And then it's going to get carried back up north, northeast, when it goes back to its natural current. The whole East Coast, like I was saying, all 13 colonies, they're screwed. I think New York is right there, Pennsylvania right there. Screwed, everyone. Rhode Island, everything that's nearby. New Jersey, going up into Maine. I don't know how far down south, but they made sure that there was something going on with the plastic POTS plant and all that plume of chemicals up in the air in Florida. So the Florida region, they're dealing with stuff already. You got that spill that happened in Texas. I believe that was, I don't remember if that was in January, if that was February 1st, or if that was January 1st, or when that was, but there was that happen. And then like several others. Detroit, Michigan had 2. So we got all these different toxins in the air in all these different regions, including Tucson, now carrying over to us. I really need to make sure if we have any kind of rain or any kind of snow that the kids don't go play in it. It's real sad to say you can't even go out there and make a snowman. I kind of wanted to the other day, and I wasn't even thinking about that the other day, walking out there barefoot. But I did wipe my feet with Norwest. We do got Norwest, so that does help. But I was out there for quite a few seconds. It only takes 26 seconds for toxins and chemicals to seep into your skin and into your pores. Now, maybe in cold, your pores are so tight. And also, how many pores do you have on the bottom of your feet? I don't know. I guess you take out toxins through your feet with onions naturally. That maybe they can get absorbed right in. Just the same, huh? Interesting. I don't know, but my leg is injured right now because I fell in the ice yesterday or the other day. I busted my ass, slipped on that ice. I was all rushing out to catch the bus, and I was trying to walk on the side and on the rocks and on the the part where it was already melted, and my foot just happened to catch one little spot of ice, and bam, I just went down and slipped. And now my legs all hurting. And I don't know if I fractured it or if it's just really, really sprained or what. But my whole leg, like all the way up, the shin bone, all the way from the top where my knee is, all the way down to my ankle hurts. So, and dead center is where I kind of feel a lot of that pain. So I think I might have fractured it. Yeah. Not going to the hospital. Just gonna do my best to take care of it ourselves. I got it wrapped up here. It's all under compression right now, so keeping it nice and tight. Thank you to my wife. Thank you, Serena. Yeah, that's one thing that I do love about her. She is well versed in her medicine and her practice. She's a curandera, practica. She practices medicine. Basically, she knows herbs and plant medicine, and her tribe is all about the natural ways of the earth and the natural healing. And I, not ever knowing if I have a tribe and part of an indigenous tribe or anything besides my mother being from Mexico and being part of the Tecotas or Cotas, that that's the native heritage that I know, but we never were taught any plant medicine from my mom or dad. All this stuff I picked up in my own lifetime and passing it on to my children, to my roots now. All this stuff that I learned about getting back to nature, that didn't come from my parents. My parents knew nothing about that. I don't think. Maybe my mom knew a little bit about some things, right? Like she knew menudo. Menudo would help your stomach, I guess, for some reason. If your stomach was hurting, just eat menudo. Now, why does that help? Well, maybe because your stomach is full of like toxins or some kind of unpleasantness that's going on, right? And when you eat menudo, you got all that tripe, all that. Basically, it's just stomach, right? So you're just eating stomach to digest stomach. And when you put that in your stomach, well, all those toxins probably just get absorbed into it. Instead of going into your stomach, it goes into there. And maybe that's what helps. And then you just, get rid of it later on. But I also know as you're moving it all through your body and your intestines, your large and your small intestines, your body absorbs all those nutrients and everything at that point. So is it really good? And maybe it removes the symptoms, the pain. Maybe it removes the pain, but does it really remove the toxins, or is it actually helping to get it in you more than get it out of you? And that's one thing that we really need to learn is all these natural remedies and things, and find out what can we do in order to help. I don't know what you can do to help. If you are over there, they only evacuated 1 mile radius from the town of East Palestine. 1 mile radius. But the wind carries how many miles? Those clouds become the clouds of Pennsylvania, the clouds of New York, New Jersey. It's so silly that they think, 1 mile, just evacuate 1 mile. And now it's safe to go home. No, they told you it was safe just so they could do their own little checks to see, is it safe or not? We can't send in FEMA yet. We got to send the people back into their homes first. So then we know what's going on, what we're dealing with. I wonder if FEMA's going to show up with hazmat suits on finally. And then the townspeople are going to be like, wait, what? It's that dangerous? Why are we here? And like I said, since day one, I told them, I commented on as many videos as I could. Y'all need to get out. Y'all need to leave. Y'all need to go to the west of this. Wherever you're at, go west. Get out of that wind current, you know? And what sucks is right now we're all getting hit by whatever's getting carried in Tucson. You know, and hopefully everything gets carried more south and more downwind. And I'm sorry to say, hopefully, you know, hopefully down towards all them and not towards us up here in Albuquerque. You know, and I'm just saying that for my own family and everything. And yeah, it might sound selfish because, you know, everyone else is going to get hit down there, El Paso, Las Cruces, you know, down in Carlsbad area and Mexico. So, you know, I don't really know, like, what to do besides to let people know as much as I can and just talk about these things and share it. And then hope that you guys actually are paying attention to what's going on and that you're also sharing this information out. You know, because if it's just me trying to share this out, well, I'm already shadow banned in many ways, you know, on many different social media sites. And I finally got my first ding here on YouTube, which means they're going to be watching me like a hawk here on what I say and different things. So I got to be real careful and censor myself as best as I can. But yeah, I kind of don't like to do that. And yeah, I'll probably let some things slip out that maybe I shouldn't have said on here. But then again, I'm not monetized. But, you know, it is what it is. I just start a new channel, right? Get a new email, start a new channel. Yeah, it'd suck if I lose all the video, all the intellectual property. But whatever, it's all old news. Need to get it all in down. There's a lot of videos like this one here where I'm just blowing glass, you know, and making water drop and talking about the importance of water. You know, one of the main things too about what's going on in East Palestine is, you know, the Leslie Run and the Ohio River is already contaminated, and the Ohio River leads to the Mississippi. So the Mississippi River will eventually become contaminated. Now, what I heard, or what I've read and researched, is that the Ohio River alone supplies drinking water to 10% of the United States residents. Now, whether they ship water away or if that's just the drinking water of all the people along that area, and that's basically 10% of our 50 states, is everything that runs along the Ohio River. Well, I would be real cautious on drinking that water. I'd be extremely cautious on bathing in it, or I would get out. I would go west. But then I understand, like, you know, that situation that happened in Tucson, right? Nitric acid up in the air, effluent, which I heard if you wet down nitric acid, if it mixes with water, it becomes nitrogen dioxide, which basically is hydrogen and water, I guess, or something like that. Now, I don't know how safe that is, or if you'd want to be drinking it, breathing it in still, or anything like that, but I think it might get neutralized by just water. Now, the other thing too is when it does neutralize or gets neutralized, it forms a brownish, yellowish fume. So, and I didn't continue on with saying this earlier, and like I was saying, I'm no trucker, I'm just a glass blower, right? But I look into a lot of things, so I have a lot of time on my hands. And so, I'm just curious, I reached out to Mother Trucker. I don't know if you guys watch Mother Trucker on YouTube or not. My Thai, but I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, what the truck's going on in Arizona? Is this truck allowed to carry nitric acid?" It was just a regular box truck. It wasn't a chemical tanker. It wasn't one of those metal chemical tankers. And then also looking into it, I think if they are allowed to transport it on box trucks like that, it still has to be contained within a specific container, in some sort of a metal container. You can't just put it in plastic or whatever. So, even though the truck tipped over, the containers within, nothing should have occurred. They should have been safe and contained. Everything in that box truck should have been tied down. I used to work in the moving business, and I know we always would strap everything down, and we would stack it up as high as possible to that ceiling. Yes, there is space up top, always some kind of space, right? But you still tie everything down, and if everything was in their own containers, then it shouldn't have spilled. And then if it did spill, why was there already water in there to begin with when it spilled over before the medical emergency crews came over? Why was it already that brownish, yellowish fume at that point? Like, did they just want it to make it look like it was way dangerous, and then they mixed it with water, and by doing that it becomes nitrogen dioxide or whatever I said earlier? I think that's what it was. Nitric acid, nitrogen dioxide, yeah. Which I guess might be safe, might be just water and hydrogen. I'm not 100% on that. I'm not a chemist. But I do a lot of research. I can read, I can read English, I can read Spanish too, but no entiendo. I can't understand it too well. But I can read it. And some things I can pick up and understand. But I can definitely read English, and there is no difference to me between reading a novel, reading a science journal, reading media news reports, reading any sort of reports or anything, sometimes they might use abbreviations and different things or different symbols, which all you need is a key, like a key for the map. So then you can understand what those mean, right? Like even on olive oil, you can learn where your olives are harvested from and where the olive comes from, and whether or not you're getting actual real olive oil or you're getting olive oil that's been like brought from all over the world. They just mix together so you get some generic bunk olive oil. If you don't know how to read the code, the key code on there, you won't know where your olive oil even comes from. And some people probably don't even know that there is a key code on there, right? So just, reading anything is as simple as, if it's in English, and it's really simple. I mean, yeah, you may have to look up a few words. If you're trying to read legal jargon, then you have to really look up legal definitions and terms to know what they're really talking about, right? What's going on in the motions that they're filing, and how are they wording it? How are they stating it? How is it being stated as who's the defender, who's the plaintiff, who's included on each side, all those different things. Which judge, reading anything, you can read science journals and understand them. Just because I'm a glassblower doesn't mean that I don't understand these things. So what I wonder is what happened out there in Tucson, Arizona. And is that truck allowed to carry that nitric acid? And shouldn't it involve, that load should have all been tied down? And why was it already mixed with water as soon as it spilt over? You know, was the ground wet? You know, I know that in some parts of highways they have like greenery, they have the grass, and they have irrigation. But you know, that's Tucson, that's desert. I really don't think they would be watering the grass in the middle of the median there, right? Where the truck flipped over. But what do y'all think about anything that's going on right now? I mean, there's so much to inundate us and to keep us distracted from all these other things that are going on. You know, the balloons, UFOs, UFOs, they're coming. EPA. Springfield. Remember to look up Springfield. Underground. Craft foods. They're little, they got this cool, like a base, you know? They got a fort. And everything's going in there. I don't know, the guy was saying, like, how many thousands of semi-trucks were pulling in daily? Or, I don't know if it was hundreds daily. And they're just unloading all day. But, you know, maybe it's just because they're just going to get some cheese, right? Let's go get some Nestle water. Go get that Pure Life water. I try to teach my kids not to drink that stuff because they're school, and I'm sure FEMA, once FEMA shows up, they'll have everything that's like brought to you by Nestle. Hey, look at this. This whole entire emergency event brought to you by Nestle. Here, we got some Nestle Pure Life water for you. Here, have a Nestle Quick. That's what I noticed last night is all these individuals that were up there in the turkey bombs, the earthquake. It wasn't a hard bomb at all. But yeah. There was a lot of weird stuff going on there. I put up that video, the senator from Turkey, that she was talking about heart. She was talking about some other things that went against CDC and WHO. Who? What? And I posted up a video because I knew it was going to get taken down. I knew they were going to like try to start censoring it and banning it. Not thinking, oh yeah, they're going to censor my video too and ban it. And they're going to boycott me. So I got my first ding on YouTube because of that. I don't know, you might be able to find it on the other, on like Rumble, Odyssey maybe. Maybe it's getting posted up on Twitter. Maybe people are tweeting that out nowadays. Because it's a lot of information is coming out these days, and the truth is finally getting revealed. But then it's so hard. You know what we need to do is just revert back to pen and paper, right? Start printing this all out. Start reusing the newspapers again. Right now they got everything phasing out to digital. Everything going digital. Remember when everyone had to get digital TVs? That way you couldn't have the RF frequencies anymore because they were needing those RF frequencies to send what? White noise. To send different frequencies through, guys. So everything's now digitized, digital. That way they can control it. Anything that goes through Bill Gates' internet or Windows, as we're looking looking through our monitors, they're looking back out through us, right? Windows. Anything that we're looking at and seeing, they can see too. So, I don't know. It's real interesting on what's going on in the world these days. And if you're not paying attention, then they're doing a really good job keeping everyone distracted. And that's the thing, is I know that they're doing an excellent job. Their plan is working. Like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's not working. This isn't working. It's like, oh no, it's working. It's working. The reset is happening. The great reset is happening. We could have a greater reset if we all came together and unified. But I really don't see that happening because too many people like to fight. Too many people are very opinionated about their own ways and they don't want to settle for a unified way. There's a lot of weird stuff going on to segregate us all in these days. But one thing that I wonder is, where's all the Greta Thunbergs right now? You know, my daughter, she recently did a report on these environmentalists, and that was one of the options that they had to choose from. You know, they got like 4 or 5 options. These are the best environmentalists of the world, like, you know, brainwashing our children, and these are the environmentalists. Like, let's forget about the fact that I'm talking about my daughter, but let's forget about the fact that your own father is an environmentalist. Like, why wouldn't they allow you to just like pick and choose your own? You could write about something that was going on in your own life for the last, like, I don't know how many years, their whole life, for like 10 years now. Like, maybe my daughter doesn't realize it because she's been in it, you know? Can't see the forest for the trees. You know, like, these water drops have been gifted to many of the water protectors, and that's the thing, is I'm probably going to reach out to some of those individuals still, even though I may believe a lot of them are planted. You know, it's still, in some ways, they are water protectors, they're environmentalists, they're keeping the narration going, they're keeping the conversation going. So yes, even though that they're planted to give us certain or specific narratives, getting the drop of water to individuals like that, maybe we'll do something for bringing the truth to those individuals. You know, if anything, all I can do is put love and intention and specific blessings into these water drops. And just pray that we have clean drinking water for all, for future generations to come. For all future generations to come. Alright, we're almost on number 37 here, so as you can see, I've just been cranking these out, we're just getting them made. So we got 4 more to go, sacred 4, guys. And then this will be the first batch of 37 done. We'll get another 37 done here, maybe by the end of the day. I'm going to have to let y'all go. We've been streaming for a good 89 minutes now, so almost 2 hours here. So a good hour and a half. I don't know, I could actually just keep it going and we can work on another 37 or at least get them started. But I need to check on my daughter, see if my daughter's awake, if she needs help with breakfast. I know she can help herself to cereal and milk, or she may want me to cook her something, which usually every morning that is the case. I'm usually making like 2 breakfasts every day. One for me and my daughter in the morning before school, and then when my wife and our son wakes up, then I have to make them breakfast. So I have like 2 breakfasts, sometimes 2 lunches. I'll have to make my daughter's lunch in the morning, and then I'll make my wife and our son's lunch in the afternoon. Sometimes I have lunch by myself, and then I have to make them lunch. So sometimes I have to make lunch 3 times. And then dinner, I try to just get us all to eat dinner at the same time. But sometimes, because my wife has a disability and she has to rest quite often. Sometimes she's napping during the time that we're eating dinner. Then I have to reheat dinner again for her. So sometimes dinner's twice. I don't know, what's that, like 7 meals a day that I gotta cook? 2 to 3 breakfasts, 2 to 3 lunches, and then 2 dinners. So I was like, yeah, good 6 to 8. I cook 6 to 8 meals a day, not including snacks, not including dessert. Alright, but like I said, I only got 4 more to go. Finishing this one, we got 3 more to go after this here. Alright. I see there could be a couple people watching. No one's chimed in yet though, but that's alright. I know some of y'all might be lurking and working. That was a term that we came up with on twitch.tv/. Dan the Glassman. I used to do Twitch a lot. Twitch was a cool spot because you could get away with saying anything. I mean, you could even have music in the background; they wouldn't ding you for copyright. Although I think it says somewhere you're not supposed to have copywritten stuff or music or whatever. But then YouTube will ding me for copyright if I have my own music on. So they don't know the difference. They're like, oh, there's live music playing. It's like, that's my song. I own the copyright. I own all rights. All rights reserved, not just the copyright, all rights. All right, 3 more to go. And hopefully my daughter got some breakfast already if she's up. Because I would think she probably got up about 9 o'clock. It's already 10. And she hasn't come in to say good morning yet, which normally I would expect her to. Maybe she just found something on the TV, got some cereal, was watching some cartoons, watching some more Garfield. Or the Dino show. She got into the Dino, was it Jurassic World? It's like an animated series. So on Monday, I believe Monday's a holiday, so Tuesday, we're gonna go down to the glass supply shop, Gray Matter Glass here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I don't know if they would allow me to film or not. It'd be kind of cool to take y'all in so you can see kind of what I have at my hands, like what options there really are in glass. You know, if they're wanting to do like a custom order, but then again, you know, that also might throw people off because they're going to see one color and not realize that after it's been worked in the flame, it's going to come out a whole different color. But it's amazing to see the assortment of colors, and I think there's like 3, maybe 4 different color companies right now that they're being carried, if not more. You know, and if there's more, then I'm like completely out of date. But yeah, they have the original North Star glass, and then Glass Alchemy. They probably have some Paramore glass. I think they have the Colorado Glass Company, and I don't know, they might have like a what's her name? Is it Sue Fowler? Might have some of her glass. And then there's the Chinese glass that are different, you know, the Cymac, the Kaimac, Scope glass, the Scott. You know, there's a lot of different glass actually. Then you got the Marinis, all of the dichroic chips, or not chips, all the dichro and all the really puree chips. And then you got all the clear tubes, clear rods, all the pre-made, prefab, colored tubes and everything. Yeah, the world of glass is pretty amazing. You know, to be able to get fire in a, you know, to be able to control fire in a way that you can then put it to glass and then manipulate the glass, like heating it up, getting all the elements flowing to where it becomes liquefied for a moment, and in that moment you have the opportunity to stretch it, shape it, bend it, mold it, manipulate it, and create in so many ways. You know, this is like God's work right here. Creator moving the elements all around in order to manipulate and change things up. So I always think of, you know, when I'm working on things and making things, that I'm co-creating with Creator. So all these water drops, you know, to me, they're all very significant in that way. Alright, we got 2 more to go. This one here is number 36 to finish off the 4 rows of 9. And then I always put 1 more on the bottom to make 37. So that's my number. I was always told to work in your number, and it just helps to allow things to flow better. You know, there's something about that. And the number 37 shows up a lot in sacred geometry and different energy sources, and it's a very interesting number. And then there's other numbers that I also work with as well, but 37, the 3 and the 7 are my main numbers there. So we'll do this one and 1 more. Alright, sorry I went silent on you guys. I was just thinking about plants and getting the garden in the back going. need to start turning that soil and getting some things planted out there. I know my wife wants to get some more bell peppers growing again this year. We have such a tiny little area. It would be like, you know, at your home just growing one row in the garden. Yeah, I wish we had so much more space. We got a little tiny spot in the back. It's kind of like a skinny rectangle. Only about like 13 to 16 feet wide, I would imagine. 16 feet at the widest, I guess. And maybe stretching out about 6 feet. Maybe. So it's not much at all. But we do what we can with growing. I had a pallet garden going for a while so we could grow vertically. But the soil in there, I think, depleted and it didn't work out. The drip system didn't work. And yeah, I may have to just redo that this year. Get a new pallet, start over again. But also, I didn't put a backing on it, and one of the builds I saw was putting like a burlap sack or some kind of a cloth or even an old bed sheet, a blanket, anything on the back of it that you don't need anymore. And then that way, when you water it, the moisture actually absorbs and wicks up and down that whole entire cloth, and it keeps all the moisture in the soil. And that was the problem, is that we were watering it from the top with the drip system and it wasn't reaching all the way to the bottom. Another thing would be to just put a bunch of cloth in there and create like wicking systems to draw all the way from the bottom to the top. Okay, last one, guys. And then, you know, I'm probably going to actually stop because it's that time where I need to get breakfast for everyone else going. So I'm going to let y'all go after this one here. So those of you who come in after this live feed, thank you so much for tuning in and watching and listening to me just talk about the different things that are going on recently. You know, I'm trying to keep it really a PC, politically correct here and not get myself censored in any which way. But, you know, I also have always been one to push that envelope, to push the limit, and to see how much freedom of speech do we really have in the United States of America. Am I allowed to say anything and everything? Or will there always be repercussions nowadays? You know, with everyone on social media nowadays, it's all about the social media score. And whether or not you're politically correct or not on there, if you're following with the status quo or not. And I don't know what that's going to lead us to. If I'm going to like start out being in debt in the whole entire social system of finances and wealth, you know, the more popular you are because of being more sheeple, I guess, going along with anything and everything without questioning it. You know, and you're going along with anything and everything without questioning it. Not a good thing. There's a lot of interesting things going on these days, right? One thing I wanted to talk about was all of the recent individuals who have been just suddenly collapsing. Individuals just losing their lives. There's a lot of athletes, some not. Just a lot of individuals. I mean, this has become a daily thing now on the reports. And yet no one's allowed to talk about the hypothesis of what it may be. I mean, you know, the world just went through a whole entire mandate of things, and yet we can't hypothesize that, well, maybe it was that experiment that was going on. Maybe? No, okay. gotta go along with what WHO and CDC says. Who? CDC. Who? CDC. You know, you gotta high hell WHO, high hell CDC. Sorry. But that's what it's like, huh? There is no more freedom of speech anymore these days. Freedom of speech is done. Freedom of press. Freedom of religion. Freedom of assembly. I mean, I guess freedom of religion. We can have freedom of religion because they want to be able to push that. Even the demonic way is good. You know, Satanism, those kind of things. So I guess they're allowing that, you know, for now. But yeah, look into what's going on in East Palestine. Try to do your best to look into what might help you with detoxing any kind of toxins or poisons. You know, get yourself away from the toxins. Also, you know, stop using bleach, stop using all these chemicals, Windex, Pine-Sol, Ajax, just to clean, scrubbing soap bubbles, 409, all the laundry soaps that are all colorful and blue and purple or whatever colors, red, all the different dryer fabric softeners or the dryer sheets. You know, if you're using any of that or all of that, then you really have no place to say that others are poisoning you if you're doing it to yourself. But if you're really doing your best to get rid of all these toxins and everything, then you really have some grounds to stand on and say, yo, I can't be around any of this. You know, if my wife was around any of those chemicals, she would be in the hospital. When they sprayed just herbicides outside in our apartments one time, I had to rush her to the ER. She wasn't able to breathe. She had an asthma attack, and it was horrible. And people don't realize this, that, you know, when you're cleaning your apartment next door, sometimes you open your door up because you got to air out your house because, you know, those fumes are going to give you a headache, right? Well, you're also just airing it out right into everyone else's front porches and into their areas. We can't leave our door open because sometimes that happens, you know. So it's really interesting that people want to be able to point their finger, but yet they're still doing this to themselves. So I highly recommend getting away from all these toxins. Get yourself some Norwex. You can go to my wife's website. That's Serena, Seryna, Estrada, Estrada. So that's www.serynaestrada.norwex, NORWEX.biz. So go to Norwex and get yourself some really nice cleaning materials, cloths, fabrics, all these different supplies I have. If you need cleaning solutions and things, they do have natural enzyme products, so you can still use laundry detergents and dish soaps and things like that, but their products are meant to work with only water and removes 99.9% of bacteria using only water. So that's why I strongly recommend getting yourself some Norwex. Get away from all the toxins, at least in your own home. Turn your home into a safe haven if you can, and everyone can. You simply just go and shop there. But I'm going to let you go. Remember, water is life. Every drop counts. Make sure you drink plenty of water. Whatever you weigh, just divide that in half, and that's how many ounces of water you should be drinking. So if you're 150, divided in half, 75, you should be drinking 75 ounces of water per day. And that's if you're not very active, you're not a runner, you're not out there sweating it all out, doing yard work, working on the roofs or anything like that. You know, just half as much in your body weight. That's how many ounces. I'm Dan the Glassman. This is the Glassman's World. This has been another glass blowing session with updated current events. Well, some of them at least. That should be enough to hold you for now. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Love and blessings. Take care.